Thank you everyone for joining today. So today's topic is very interesting. We will be discussing about data modernization and how data modernization can uncover new opportunities within your organization. Okay. So we will focus on why modernize, why companies should modernize, first of all, when to modernize, and how to modernize. So we will cover all the when, why, and how as part of this session. Just a show of hands. How many of you think that your organization is not using the data properly for decision making? I think I see a few of them, but yeah, but I think let's see in this session how we can change that. That is what we will focus on. So this is what we will cover. We will start with why organization should modernize their data infrastructure and what are the benefits it brings. So we'll go over the benefits as well. We will also discuss about how organizations can identify the right time to modernize, because modernization is a huge investment from an organization. So when would be the right time for an organization to modernize? We will also focus on how the organization can modernize in a smart with a smart data strategy. So we'll also talk about that. And we will, as part of that, we will be discussing what value Royal Cyber brings in the table. With Royal Cyber, we have a lot of assessment as part of the data modernization journey. We also have jumpstart packages for different industries. We also have built solutions, for example, automating data quality standards. There are different solutions which we have created by ourselves along with and some solutions with our partners. So all this value, how we bring, so we will discuss that. We will also show real life success stories from different customers and how and the impact these customers got after modernizing their data infrastructure. So this is the agenda for today's session. Okay, so the first thing is why organization should modernize. So for that, in today's world, businesses have or businesses produce a lot of data. But this data resides in mainly silo or legacy applications. So there are, for example, if you talk about a retailer, they have different channels. They have legacy applications for e-commerce, for ERP, for point of sale. Now, all these interactions which they are getting from their customers, from their employees, they are stored in different systems. So it is all segregated. So, when a company has a strong data engineering strategy, we can uncover the true benefits of this data. So that is where data engineering is a very key thing. For instance, companies with a strong data strategy, they achieve at least 60% faster decision-making capabilities than other companies. So that's a very big number, if you think. And then if you see this diagram, there are data engineering provides tons of other benefits. For example, the ownership cost. That is a very big, for example, if you have these legacy applications and you move those legacy applications into or legacy systems into SaaS-based systems, you also save a lot of cost, right? So that's a big advantage. Data quality with data engineering, your data quality also improves, and you are actually using more reliable data for your decision making. So that is also a very big advantage. Third, I would say from an innovation perspective. So if you have this data, I mean, residing in different systems, innovating anything new, like for example, AI, large language model, it is very common nowadays, but it is very difficult to innovate this if you have this data residing into different systems. With the data, strong data engineering strategy, you have a centralized data where you can innovate and be more agile from your organization perspective. Okay, so now as we discussed that data modernization journey is a costly or the organization has to do a big investment in order to go to a data modernization strategy. So when an organization should start thinking about it? So usually when you are launching a new product, or if you are going into a new market, or if you're stuck with this progress rut and doing a lot of integrations between different systems, this is where you can realize that yes, let's start with a data engineering strategy and slowly, in a stepwise approach, bring your current data legacy data infrastructure into a more modern data infrastructure. Okay. So just to give an example, Amazon is a very common example on how they have achieved with their robust data infrastructure. They can provide real-time personalization to all their customers, which achieves both strong customer experience but also strong revenue growth. So this investment has paid them multiple times with getting into a strong data infrastructure. Okay, so now we have discussed the why and when, and kind of put the stage up for data modernization. So now the next question is, how do we get started with data modernization? And this is where I would like to ask my colleague Saurav Roy to come, and he will go over this as well as he will cover the success stories on data modernization. Yes, Saurav.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. Good afternoon, all. My name is Saurav Roy, and I'm a senior client partner, senior account manager in Royal Cyber. So you know everything should have a plan, right? I mean, and this is our experience. This is our experience working with different clients in the data modernization, right? There are certain clients who come to us and basically say that, can you help us do our data modernization end to end, right? Whereas there are certain clients who come to us and say, we don't want to do from a data engineering, data warehousing, analytics, reporting. We just want to focus on one area. Can you do this, right? So, getting into all these permutation combination is going to be a little bit difficult, right? So this is something that we have established in Royal Cyber DNA. Whenever we are going and speaking with the client about data modernization, doesn't matter where they start from, but this is what we do, right? So we help work with the clients to formulate a data modernization strategy roadmap, and we prioritize initiatives, right? So we definitely go and try to speak with not only their IT or the data team, but we also try to speak with their business users to understand the priorities, right? So you can either do a top-down approach or you can do a bottom-up approach, right? So top-down means you start from business, you define your IT or your data modernization based on that, or you start from the data modernization if that organization is very matured and the IT and business knows what to expect from each other, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we identify key business objectives, right? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to, like Josefa gave Amazon's example, right? Are we trying to improve the customer insights? Are we trying to improve on operational efficiency? Are we trying to reduce the cost? Are we trying to move the infrastructure from on-prem to cloud, right? So those are kinds of questions that we normally ask. And we have a very elaborate questionnaire that we start with any client, right? And then we talk about what is success, right? I mean, we start on a journey, but if we don't define the success, 1 year down the road, 8 months down the road, we end up in a place where the clients don't know what they have built. We don't know what we have built, right? And so where data quality, right? Data accessibility, availability, time to insight, go to market, right? So that's what we do. Uh, so we create a actionable plan, right? It's just not creating a document, but it's creating an actionable plan with milestones and deliveries uh, for a clear path forward, right? We assess the current state, the as is, right? That is very important, right? So in Royal Cyber, we do a lot of assessment and evaluation, right? And this assessment and evaluation keeps on happening throughout the journey, right? So it could be at the beginning of the journey when we do an assessment. It could be while we are in the journey. It could be in different stages, or it could be towards the end of the journey where we do an assessment saying or evaluation saying, hey, did we build what we were asked to build, right? Uh, Assess and introduce data governance policies, ownership, and stewardship, right? I think this is something which is very important, which we have found out across multiple clients that we have worked on, is data governance, right? That's something that we absolutely need to establish, pretty much quickly, right? Who's the owner of the data? Who are the data stewards, right? Who are we serving this for? Uh, Assess and enhance data analytics, right? It all goes back to analytics, insights, and all, right? So, uh, different companies come to us, different clients come to us and ask us that, hey, I need these 5 KPIs or 6 KPIs to be visualized, right? So we start from there, right? Uh, then obviously we have a very flexible, scalable data architecture, right? And we select the right data warehouses depending on multiple criteria, right? We select the different data warehouses or the lakes or the marts and come up with an architecture, right? So somebody wants to go on-prem. Somebody says that I want to use SSIS SQL Server. I want to use a simple Tableau or a Power BI. Somebody comes and says, I want to use the Fabric. Somebody says that I want to use, Azure architecture, right? So somebody says, I want to use Snowflake, right? So predominantly, there are multiple parameters in which we discuss about, what licensing cost, whether you really need it or not. What is the size of your data? What is the frequency of data change? So all those come into picture when we talk about this, right? Uh, Obviously, data integration, data engineering is a huge part of data modernization, right? You need to get data from someplace, right? As Josefa mentioned, data we have been in situations we have noticed the data is there, but it's in silo, correct? So how do we ingest that data, right? What are the different data types that we need to, whether it's a SQL, XML, text, VSAM, you name it, right? So you got to figure out, you got to build those pipelines, right? And when you're pulling in the data, doing data ingestion, you're also working on data quality, data cleansing, data profiling, and all. Because at the end of the day, if you want to give proper insights, if you want to give proper analytics, you need your data to be bang on, right? You cannot have dirty data and try to give, it defeats the whole purpose, right? The next one is, and this is something that uh, there are times we do this, but there are times we don't do this, is we build POCs, right? Proof of concepts. Before we embark into the journey, right? We want to prove what we are saying is correct, right? That this will work, right? So, and we build partnership with the technology leaders, right? So we have been able to build partnership on the data engineering space, on the data warehousing space, as well as in the analytics and the reporting space, right? Uh, Focus on data security and compliance. One of the important things when we go with data modernization is understanding how InfoSec is going to react in regards to data security. There are multiple compliance, depending on what company we are catering to, what organization, type of organization, there are multiple compliance they need to follow, right? So we need to SOC compliance, HIPAA, and all those stuff. So we need to make sure that the data is according to that. And in some cases, the organizations get audited, so we are also asked to provide those details, right? The next one is, give me one second. The next one is creating artifacts, right, and showcasing, and then finally, ensuring the buy-in from the stakeholders, right? So, any questions on this, on the action plan? Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So the next one talks about what we have seen, uh, unlocking the power of your data by using modern infrastructure, right? That's one of the important things that we always speak with our clients when we go in, right? Uh, Adopting scalable cloud platforms. I mean, that's kind of the in thing these days, right? Everybody wants to go to cloud, right? Again, it depends on organization types to organization types. There are some organizations who want to stay on-prem because data is their bread and butter, and they don't want to put it on cloud. There could be some kind of security concerns and all, but there are other clients who say, yep, we will go to cloud, right? We don't want to have infrastructure in our data center, so we want to go to cloud. Somebody else manages our right. Uh, Implementation of a data integration strategy, right? So, again, it goes back to ingestion of data, right? The different types of data that we are ingesting, how we, what are the different data, well, types is, for the lack of a better word, let me put in types, right? That we need, because at the end of the day, you all need to understand that at the end of the day, everybody is trying to do the analytics, everybody is trying to do the insights, everybody is trying to make better decisions, everybody is trying to reduce the cost, right? And then when you do a crossover to data science, people are using that same data to build your ML models, right? To have better decisions, right? So in my mind, this is the most important thing, where you're doing what you call a data foundation. You're making sure that your foundation is absolutely perfect, right? So that then you can use that data. Ensuring data quality, data governance. I mean, needless to say, if you don't have good quality data, your insights and all will actually, it doesn't matter, right? And if you don't have data governance, if you don't know, who's the owner of that data, things like data lineage, data cataloging, right? Those things really it doesn't happen, right? And that's a very critical aspect of a data modernization, right? Uh, I think the fifth one is something that I would have wanted to speak at the first. I think the first step that we have to do as an organization, both us as well as the client, is we need to adopt a data-centric culture. We need to say that, yes, we are going to change, right? We have been working like this for the last 10 years, 12 years, but now we are ready to take the next step and get into better insights. And this is not something, it's not a catchy thing, right? Everybody wants to use the data that they have in their organization, right? And then, I call it the crossover, where you can leverage AI and machine learning, right, to automate process, to predict. There is a maturity model, right, that we'll come to later, which you start with descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, go to cognitive, right? So in order to do that, you need to make sure that your data foundation is absolutely perfect, right? So this is one way of unlocking the power. Correct. Mm-hmm. 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 Correct. 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 Yep.
I'm sorry, Saro, we couldn't hear the question, or
No,
maybe.
Mass is basically making a statement here. So he's
Oh,
talking
okay.
about moving from old legacy systems to the yeah, to the yeah. One more interesting thing that you brought up, right? This is something, when I go and talk to a new client, I keep on hearing is that I want to pay what I use. I don't want to pay what I don't use, right? Because because that's a cost to us, right? That's a direct hit to our cost center. So you tell us what we need to do, right? So that is when the conversations in regards to. So you want to, Master, you want to come here? They are not being released. Okay. Okay. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. Correct. You have to pay, even if you have to run one frequency, you have to pay for the whole life. Correct. Correct. That is correct. So that's very important, because again, that's a very important point. And thanks, Matt, for bringing it. Data storage and compute, separate it out. So your lake house, semi-structured, structured, unstructured, you're storing it. The warehouse, you're using your virtual computation or computation to do those. So that is how people are now thinking, and that is how we are also, when we go to a client, that is how we also propose that, let's separate out the data as well as from a computer, right? So to decrease your costs. Right? The other important thing is, and I see some faces in this room, one sitting right there who has been working on data integration, data engineering, right? So using talent or whatever, right? So talent or Informatica and all, right? So automating data pipeline processes, right? And implementing parallel processing and batch workflows, and having a reusable component and having modular component, that is something that is very much recommended by our practice also. Reusable is very important. Modular and reusable is something very important, because there have been times when I've been in conversation where they say that it's not a good practice to have table to workflow mapping, right? One is to one, right? See how you can create a component which can be reused, right? And reduce your deployment time, reduce your go-to-market, right? So that's something that we keep on doing. Leverage serverless, right? Computing, right? And the important part of it, and this is something that we have seen across the board, right? If you visualize data modernization, you start from your data engineering, warehouse, lake, warehousing, and your analytics, right? Is pretty much implement DevOps, right? Build the pipelines, right? So that you can easily deploy your code, right? And your code is very secured. It doesn't get lost. You are following the best practices, which is in the industry, right? So we have been working with our data practice, works with our DevOps practice to basically come up with a plan when we start a modernization. Uh, how DevOps needs to be integrated with data practice, right? So I'm going to stop here. Any questions? Does this make sense? Any questions from remote? Yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I just had a question about do you separate strategies for modernizing data to get a single view of your customer versus modernizing your data for operational efficiencies? Is it two separate tracks, or is there some overlap, or can there be some overlap?
In my experience, there is a lot of overlap, right? Because one of the main aspect of, if you go back to the first slide that Josefa was presenting, right? Why, the question why, right? So your data modernization strategy should always have operational efficiency in mind, right? So it is not exclusive for each other, right? You want the operational efficiency. In order to do that, you're modernizing your framework. Does that answer your question, Tony?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Cyril.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from remote or anyone in the room? Yeah, so there is a success criteria that we have to define, right? In regards to your how much analytics you are being able to provide, right? With good quality data, right? How much insights you are able to provide. Your decision making, right? Whether you're now being able to make better decisions, right? Or in case you were you are now starting to make decisions. Previously, you were not being able to make decisions because you were not using your data. So there is a list of success criteria that we discuss with our clients and we define at the onset that these are the success criteria to call the data modernization framework successful. Right? So you define your yardstick basically, right? It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum.
One thing I would like to add over here is that the common misconception over here is that data modernization about moving into a modern infrastructure. But it's not just that.
No, it's not.
I mean, you are getting your decision making improves within the organization.
Your cost decreases, your insights increases, cost decreases. Again, you're absolutely right. Data modernization doesn't mean you go to the client and basically say, you know what, you need to have Snowflake for data warehouse, you need to have data vault for enterprise data vault, or else no, that's not the, you need to that's the, if you remember the action plan, right? The third step was assess what is as is, right? Prioritize, correct? Do you really, we also go to a client and basically after the assessments, we say that it seems like your data integration, your data engineering, your pipelines are absolutely perfect, right? And your data quality rules are maybe needs a little bit of tweaking, but it looks good, right? Do you really want to change that? Because there is no point in going and saying that, you know, we do the whole thing or we don't know. That's not what data modernization is actually, right? So it's predominantly, as Zephyr rightly said, getting the results, right? So you define your success criteria. What do you want? There's a client we're discussing who says at this point of time, the only thing I care about is I'm going to give you 5 KPIs, and you got to visualize that according to what we need. That's to me is a data modernization, right? Because you're now starting to look at those KPIs. Then you are starting to go back to see if you have the data. If you don't have the data, where do you get the data from? If you have the data, is the stitching proper? If you have the data, is the analytics, your DAL, your business views, are they correctly built, right? So there are a lot of things that you can do. So either you do a top-down approach or you do a bottom-up approach. Okay. So this is a slide which basically says future-proofing our organization, right? So again, this is completely based on our vast experience that we have gathered working with multiple clients. Build a cloud-native data architecture. Again, it depends on organization to organization, but this is something that we would like to recommend. Embrace a hybrid or multi-cloud strategy in case you don't want to go complete cloud run. Incorporate advanced data security practices, very important. Always think about driving innovation, right? Always think about how do you reduce cost. Always think about decision making, right? Because there needs to be, in our practice, there are folks who actually keep on thinking about that. They may not be writing code and all, but they are thinking about that, right? Your architects or your senior architects, right? Why are we doing this? What are we gaining? Or have we gained what we, based on what we started, right? Implement scalable data integration, right? Use automation to enhance agility, right? And if you go through this, right, these are things that are very simple. I mean, these are things which absolutely needs to be done in these times, right? So it is not something very great or something very different that I'm speaking, right? It's a question of how do you imbibe these things in your DNA, before you start that implementation, right? Ensure data governance, develop data pipelines, integrate AI and machine learning, and invest in data literacy and training. The last one is very important. It goes back to a data-centric culture in your organization, right? You first need to make sure that you agree that this is the right thing to do before you go and start working with the client, right? So that's very important. Is this making sense to all folks in the teams remote? Is this making sense? Okay, I got a thumbs up, sir. Okay, so how Royal Cyber can help, right? So we can help in multiple ways, right? Because we have a very strong data engineering, or the way I look at it, and it's my personal thing, is that we have three solid practices from a data standpoint, right? We have the data engineering practice, which gives you the foundation. We have the data science practice, which uses that foundation to make better decisions. And then we have the OpenAI, GenAI, Copilot, whatever, which uses that to provide information, right? So that is how I look at it, right? Given that the context of our conversation today is on the data engineering side, right? So Royal Cyber, as I mentioned, that we can help you we can help you do the whole data modernization, right? So we got enough expertise, experience, skill set in our practice where we can do a complete end-to-end data modernization, right? Or we can also plug and play, right? We can come in and modernize your, let's say, your data integration layer, work with you on your data quality and all, right? So we have the capability and the caliber to do this end to end and do this on a piecemeal basis, right? Uh, we can help you build a data operating model, which is a very important aspect in today's world, right? So where business strategy and objectives, we take the business strategy and objectives, and if you see at the end, we are providing the business value. We are providing what business is looking for, right? So, from the architecture standpoint, collection standpoint, enrichment, data sharing, technical architecture, data privacy and security, data governance. So we can do this all in all. So we can come in as a partner and help you set up the data operating model, right? We can help you with data mining, right? Again, if you see all the slides here, represents, there is one box which says business goal or business initiative, right? Because everything we do here, we are keeping the business goals and the business initiatives in mind, right? So data mining is something that we can help you with, right? So identifying data, preparing data, evaluation of data, modeling for data, present data in the sense from a visualization standpoint, we can help you there. Uh, Adhere to industry data quality best practices. Again, this is something which this slide is one of my favorite. This is from Gartner. We try to, or we aspire when we go with a client in regards to data quality, we try to stick to this, right? Now, again, we all need to understand it is not a one-way street, right? So we have to work in tandem with the client because the client ultimately will give their requirements, will give their ask, will tell us what exactly they need. That is the success criteria, right? So we can either via tool or manual, we can help with the data quality standpoint, right? Uh, yeah, so governance, we normally do softwares like Colibra and all. Yeah. Unity, yeah. Then we have a lot of MDM experience in our team, right? Across different tool set, right? We are partners with Click and all, right? So we have, in fact, for one of the client, we also were able to propose a homegrown or a poor man's MDM, right? So we have that amount of knowledge in our practice in order to understand, what MDM can do, and how can we create that MDM, right? So data, data content, IPM. Mhm, mhm. Correct. Correct. That is correct. So right. So with one of our clients, Mass, we had proposed an Azure, uh, you know, ADF, Azure Lakehouse, Synapse Analytics, and Power BI, right? And then on top of that, Databricks. But they basically came to us and said that, can you move this into Fabric and see? So the team is now working on to see how do we take that whole architecture with the business requirements and move it to Fabric, right? So that's something that we are being helped. The team is being held by the Alex's team here, right? So yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that we are very flexible because coming from a consulting world, right? We have dealt with multiple clients, multiple environments. And that's why I started by saying we are not gung-ho on saying that, okay, only use Microsoft, right? You can use a talent with a Snowflake, right? We are able to do that. Whatever gives you the value, right? And those values are operational efficiency, reduce cost, better customer insights, better analytics, right? That is all we are. That is our mantra. That's our goal. How you achieve that is something we will work with you. Reporting is a pretty big, a pretty big skill set in our practice, right? We're building the analytics center of excellence, plus using that for your reporting. I think both from a data engineering practice as well as from a data science practice, we have done a lot of reporting, right? And the reporting actually, in few cases, in the maturity model with some clients, we are maybe at a predictive, right? In some cases, we are descriptive. In some cases, we are prescriptive. So that is how we have been able to. So that's a very strong asset. Do you have any question? Jason, do you have any question? All right. So these are some of the reports that we have created. This is just an example, right? Again, as Josefa said, that this is the start of the series that we are going to do. The next session, which Hassan is going to take, is going to be completely on analytics center of excellence and Power BI and reporting, not Power reporting, right? So we will spend a lot of time going in depth to what that means, right? And what have we done, right? So be on a lookout for visualization and insights, correct? Yeah, and so keep a lookout. You will soon see that session coming up, right? But this is a plethora of different types of reports that we create, and again, we understand that there are certain reports that we cannot be showing because of NDA and client engagement and all, but our team is equipped enough, and we have the necessary partnership and the licenses, right, to basically create a very quick demo and showcase it, right? And we have done this multiple times with the other clients, right? So that's something that we do very well. We do a lot of managed services support, right? So you want to do a monitoring, your data integration process, doesn't matter what ETL tool you're using. Again, this is, and Tony, this is a reply to your question, right? When we are asked to do data modernization, right, the thing that is kept in our mind is, once the data modernization is done, somebody needs to manage that platform, right? Whether it is us or whether it is the client or whether it is somebody else. So this is something that we make sure that when we are doing the managed services support, we have all the aspects of data engineering covered here, right? Data governance and implementation expertise, right? So cataloging tool features, data quality tool features, data governance tool features, right? So we have a practice within our data engineering practice where which specializes in data governance, right? So, again, we have implemented this. We have engaged with multiple clients on data governance, right? These are certain things on the summary and the capabilities that we bring in, right? Like we will come in and create the governance operating model. We will do data policies, set up data governance processes, and work with the client to set up the data quality standards. Jason, do you want to ask a question? Or oh, hey Scott. Oh. The other thing, and this is what I started with, right? We do a lot of assessment, right? And every time we go into a new client, and it doesn't matter whether go into a new client or a new engagement, we try to do the assessment and the evaluation of what what we have built, right? Or the current as is, right? Or at the end of the implementation, we basically talk about, again, figuring out what we built, right? So I just included a couple of examples like a data engineering or a data warehouse, data vault assessment, but we do a lot of other assessments also in regards to data engineering, right? Or data modernization. Now again, these assessments could be, it's not like you have to take up everything, right? We can work with you in order to figure out what different assessments that you need, right? So this talks about, how, uh, yeah, I mean, we can also help with you on training, creating, adopting a data centric environment, right? Or an ecosystem in an organization, right? So we can also help with your data engineering training plan, right? All right, so I'm going to stop here, uh, and I'm going to pause for a couple of minutes for any questions, or if this made sense, or data governance factor, like yeah, I mean, it depends on the maturity of where the organization is. They may, again, we have to use the word data modernization in a very, very carefully, right? Data modernization doesn't just mean that you have the tools or you have the systems in place. It's also how you're using that system, correct? One of the most important thing that I keep on hearing from the practice is data quality, right? The quality is not good. You have everything, you have a good and a center of excellence for analytics, which is your business views or whatever views they are, right, which are feeding into the reports. But your reports are not good, right, because your data is not correct, right? Whether it is the amount of data, whether it is the type of data, whether it's the quality of the data, that's one, right? The other thing is performance, right? So 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 it depends from different, but you're right. Data governance is one, data security is the other, right? So those are areas, data ingestion, right? They may be limited to only certain types of data coming into the system, right? What about others, right? If you want to integrate with your legacy mainframe, correct? Are you integrating that? I mean, is that data required, right? So there are yeah, it's just not about the what we hear is just not about the tools, Mass. It is also how we are using the tool to the success story, right? Those four things are very critical. That is what clients come into. Yeah, your insights, business decisions, your cost, right? So those are the things which defines the success criteria. It's also a journey. Yeah. Correct. It's also a journey. Yeah, Faris, I saw you raised your hand. Do you have a question, Faris?
Yeah, what do you consider about the data compliance working with a European client or a US client? So where do modernization fit considering if it's a European client, so the data modernization would be different, tool set different, or the data governance, what area would be different? Because working in the European, you have certain regulatory or policies you have to follow for considering the modernization. So, what's your point, or have you worked with any client which face this issue? Like you can't go beyond modernization, like certain area in the Europe with the European clients, if it considered as AI implementation of some sort of these areas. So,
No, no.
what's
So
your
let's break it down. You talked about compliance. You're right, right? I mean, the compliance we have seen where when we go with our US clients, there is a different set of compliance, right? When we go with our European clients, there are a different set of compliance we need to adhere to, right? Then one of the when we go with our CNAP countries, right, Middle East organizations, right, the compliance is completely different, right? In my knowledge, I don't think there is a one thing fits all for compliance perspective. You need to adhere to, maybe the tool remains the same, but the way the tool is configured has to be different for us. But that doesn't stop your data modernization. Again, at the end of the day, your data modernization is on four things, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, tools and all, or applications and softwares are on one, but at the end of the day, you need to meet what your success criteria that you have defined, right? So that's what data modernization is, right? I mean, I don't think we should be looking into data modernization saying that, okay, yeah, data modernization can suffice to compliance in US and Canada, but then it cannot suffice to compliance rules or the compliance in Europe. It completely defeats that purpose, right? Then you're really not doing data modernization, right? You're doing, I don't know what you will call it, Faris. It's predominantly you're implementing a framework very specific to a particular country or a particular region.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, we want to keep it interactive, right? So if you have questions, please. Okay. So yeah, we have few minutes here. So we I did not want to bring in a lot of use cases. So came up with 3 use cases, right? One was B2B instrumentation engineering and manufacturing, right? So what we try to do is, and I'm seeing smiles on some folks here who are already working in that account. So this has been a big journey for us in this particular organization. We have actually helped. We have matured while the client has also matured in this particular organization, and we are going very strong here. We started by before I joined, right? We started by just creating Power BI reports, right? Just simple Power BI reports, getting data. But now we are actually managing their whole EDW, as well as we are also managing their all the connections, right? All the sources coming in, right? So, and this is a commerce. So, you have commerce applications sending sources. You got Google Analytics. You got CRM sending data, right? You got different. Yeah, let me show you this, right? So, this is what, right? You got ERP, different types of ERP sending data. You got CRM sending data, Salesforce, Hybris commerce, right? You got different types of other third-party tools which are sending data, Google Analytics and all, right? So we actually help them create this I wouldn't say a complete modernized view because they are still in the journey, right? Now, again, we need to understand one more thing is that when we go to a client, the other thing we ask them is, what is your time frame, right? So some clients come and tell us that we need to get this done in 8 months. Whereas other clients may say that, okay, we will do piecemeal by piecemeal, but over the next 2.5 years, 3 years, we want this to be modernized. It depends on multiple things, right? The budget, it depends on prioritization and all, right? So this is one of the success stories that we have built, for this manufacturing client, right? The other one that we have, and if you see, this is the I don't know what you would call it, but this is kind of the data that is coming into their data warehouse system at this point of time. And remember, it's not just ingesting the data, because you also need to provide insights from this data, right? So you need to stitch the data in a proper way. But you need to make sure that the quality is good. You need to understand the data, right? One of the biggest things that at least I have seen in my experience is that there are times when we don't, not we, I mean, you need some time to understand the data, right? I mean, yes, you need to create that insight, but with this 11 columns, but those 11 columns may not be straightforward columns coming from your tables, right? In your data warehouse, right? Out of 10, maybe 8 of them are derived columns, right? They are calculated columns. And you need to figure out what is the lineage and all those cool stuff, right? So that's what you need to do. The other one, The other one is BFSI. Again, we did data modernization, right? So, this we actually did. We had footprints across the whole platform, starting from the integration to the modeling, to transformation, to life, the warehouse management, right? Uh, and as well as the analytics and all, we integrated with mainframe and all, right? And we also do support for the platform that we have built, right? So we have been able to improve the agility, and it's more flexible and adaptable. Uh, we have seen a lot of improvement in the go-to-market in the GTM, right, for any kind of resolution or efficiency. We have been integrating with not only with data sources, but we have also been seamlessly integrating with different systems, right? So, it's just not about data sources, right? It's also about systems. How do you integrate with the systems? Uh, we have provided we are still providing support for real-time advanced analytics. Uh, Obviously, with all what we have mentioned previously, right? The ecosystem that we have built, uh, you know, uh, scalability, uh, easily supporting growing data volumes and user loads, right? Reduction of infrastructure costs. This is where it comes into, I'm going to pay what I use. I'm not going to pay what I don't use, right? So that is something that we have been able to incorporate with this client, right? And the third one is more of a, leading food and beverage, right? So here we actually set up, again, it was a cloud-enabled sales analytics solution that we built, right? Uh, and this was kind of the platform that we built, right? From a ingestion to using a storage blob to putting it in as your SQL database, and then providing the insights, right? So these are just three success stories. I would encourage everybody to reach out to Joseph and me, where we can discuss not only these stories in detail, right, but give you other examples in your relevant industry or domain, right? But
So if we can go in here about common problems while doing this data monitoring, these projects, uh, in the complexity very good.
yeah, I think one of the most important challenges that we have faced over, and this is across the board, is in answer to his question, is success criteria. We don't clients, what is the success criteria? There is no clear written document saying this is my success criteria, this is my acceptance criteria. That's number one. Number two is, uh, many of the times we have to work with business to understand, or to help them understand what they need, right? So getting business requirements, right? Again, remember, and this is my personal opinion, right? I come from a application. When I was a developer in my previous life, I come from an application world, right? So application world, you have your boundary, right? You're going to write this function. You know that this function will receive this parameter and it will throw out this, right? And you write another function. Data cannot work like that. There has been many times when I've had discussions with our delivery team in regards to, tell me, which methodology do you use to manage a data project? Because in my mind, you can use Sprint, you can use the Agile, Scrum, whatever it is, but data is very different, right? Because at the end of the day, your trader or your analyst is basically calling you up and saying that I am expecting this particular amount to show up in the report. It is not showing up, right? You cannot go and tell them, you know what, let's wait till the next sprint and we'll figure it out, right? You have to do it right then and there, right? So the business requirements, and then the other thing is, most of the time they're very pretty clear, because as consultants, we don't recommend a particular tool unless we have to. We provide options to clients, and we say option one, pros and cons, option two, pros and cons, option three, pros and cons. So we are helping clients to take the decision instead of taking our decision, because at the end of the day, it is there. They are accountable for that. I think the decision making around what tools, right? And what licensing costs, what is cost, right? So these are 4, 5 very high level challenges that we have to go through in our initial journey. Or questions like, I got Tableau, I need to move to Power BI. Oh, okay, why? Why do you need to move to Power BI? I mean, those are the questions that we ask, right? That apart from of being a developer or data engineer, the first challenge that one would face is to understand what is the. Okay. No, I think you're right. But I forgot, and you're right. Data. Understand the data. That is a very big challenge in the legacy application. Understanding data, right? What data does what, right? A field. You could have multiple fields, indicating the same thing, right? But which field to use, right? At the end, when you do the stitching, that is very important, right? So, yeah, thanks. So I think that is very important. Right? Those are the challenges that you need to go through, and those will be done as part of our discovery or assessment. When we get into either a pre-discovery or a discovery or an assessment, these are the questions that our engineers are going to ask, right, to the clients, right, saying that, okay, give me the conceptual model, right? Give me the architecture, right? Okay, tell me what this field signifies. Okay, give me the data dictionary, correct? In some cases, give me the business glossary, right? So those are some of the things that, those are some of the challenges. Any other questions? Okay, I hope this was insightful. All right, anybody on the teams, I hope this helped you. Again, please feel free to reach out to Josefa or me for any further discussion. We'll be happy to have those conversations. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.